The galaxy was silent, but every species felt the same fear. Somewhere in the dark space beyond the outer rim, sensors began to shake. Weak signals, strange energy waves, and ghost-like shadows appeared on every monitor. No one knew the source. But every commander, every soldier, every scout whispered the same name. Humans. A name that once belonged to a small, almost forgotten species. Now, it was a warning. A storm. A nightmare. Commander Zarthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the silent stars. He had fought for 60 years. He had seen planets burn, fleets fall, and empires collapse. But he had never seen a battle where no one survived long enough to send a message. Yet this was the case whenever humans entered a war zone. Ships destroyed. Space empty. Wreckage drifting like dust. No record. No voice. No signal. Only darkness. His officers worked fast around him, hands shaking, eyes fixed on the monitors. Energy spikes increased. Readings turned red. A thin alarm echoed across the bridge. It was soft, but it carried a terror that made hearts freeze. "Commander, unidentified fleet detected," one officer said, voice cracking. "Formation unknown. Energy pattern unknown. They are exiting hyperspace." Zarthal stepped closer. His 4 eyes narrowed. "Show me." The screen slowly brightened. Then the darkness split open. A massive hyperspace tear formed like a glowing wound in the sky. One by one, huge black shapes came out of the light. Their hulls were smooth, sharp, and silent. No lights. No signals. No engine glow. Just cold shadows drifting forward with perfect formation. Hundreds. No, thousands of ships. Too many to count. The bridge fell silent. "Sir, this fleet, it matches no known design." "But," the officer swallowed hard, "it matches the rumors." Everyone knew the rumors. Humans built ships that looked empty. Humans fought without fear. Humans never lost. Zarthal did not believe myths. But the sight in front of him was no myth. This was real. Too real. Another officer whispered, "Commander, these are the humans." Zarthal did not respond. He felt something heavy inside his chest. Not just fear, something darker. Something he never felt in all his years of war. The feeling of standing before a predator, knowing escape was impossible. The ships did not move fast. They glided slowly, calmly, like they owned the space around them. No rush. No panic. No sign of life. That was the worst part. Scanners showed nothing inside the ships. No heat signatures. No heartbeats. No crew. It was as if the ships themselves were alive, controlled by something unseen. Zarthal ordered, "Scan again. Deep scan." The officer nodded. The scanner beam hit the human ships, but the beam seemed to bend, almost fade, like the ships were swallowing the energy. "Commander," the officer said, voice trembling, "I cannot get anything. The ships are blocking the scan." "Blocking?" Zarthal repeated slowly. "How?" "I do not know, sir. It is like they were built to hide everything." A cold wind moved across the bridge, though there was no wind in space. It was only fear. Suddenly, the leading human ship changed formation. Slowly. Too slowly. The movement was precise, smooth, like a single mind controlling 1,000 ships at once. Not chaotic like normal fleets. Not noisy. Not confused. Perfect. The officer whispered, "Sir, they are adjusting their weapons." A bright blue light appeared at the front of the lead ship. Small at first. Then bigger. Hotter. Blinding. The bridge lights dimmed as the human weapon charged. Zarthal felt his breath stop. "Raise shields," he shouted. "Shields at maximum," the crew responded. But even as they raised defenses, everyone knew the truth. No one had ever survived this moment. No one had ever escaped once the human fleet prepared to fire. A deep hum shook through the space around them. It wasn't loud, but it felt like something ancient had awakened. The weapon kept growing brighter, until it was like a small blue star forming in front of the ship. The officer whispered again, "Commander, they are not sending any warning." Zarthal nodded slowly. "Humans do not warn." The first blast shot forward. A beam of blue energy moved across the Warzone like a silent knife. No sound. No explosion. Just a clean cut through space. It hit a nearby alien cruiser. For a second, the ship stood still. Then it vanished. Not destroyed. Not broken. Vanished. No pieces. No flames. No debris. Gone. The bridge fell completely silent. Officers were frozen, eyes wide, bodies shaking. The entire crew understood now why no wreckage was ever found. Why humans left no trace of their enemies. Their weapons erased matter itself. Zarthal felt sweat on his skin. His hands shook. But he forced himself to stand strong. He whispered, half to himself, half to his crew, "We are facing something beyond war." Another blast fired. Another ship vanished. Human ships did not rush. They did not move fast. They killed with calm precision, like masters of death. Zarthal closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them again. "Prepare for contact," he said softly. No one dared to breathe. Because no one has ever survived what happens next. The silence after the first attack was heavy, almost suffocating. Zarthal stood on the bridge, staring at the empty space where ships had vanished moments ago. His crew moved like shadows, trying to regain control, but fear weighed on everyone. Every sensor, every monitor, every scanner still pointed to the same truth. The humans were there. And they were unstoppable. "Commander," an officer said, voice trembling, "what do we do now?" The fleet, the humans, they are not even reacting like normal beings. It is like they are one mind. Zarthal clenched his claws. He had heard stories, old legends whispered across the stars. Humans were said to fight as a single entity. But he never believed it. Not until now. "One mind," he repeated slowly. "Perhaps the stories are true." He looked at the empty space again. Thousands of human ships floated, calm and deadly. Zarthal remembered the first time he had heard of humans, tiny creatures living on a small blue planet. At first, they seemed harmless, weak, primitive. But over centuries, they had grown. Not just in numbers or technology, but in ways no other species could understand. They had fought empires, annihilated fleets, and left no survivors. No one who had faced them ever returned. A younger officer approached, trembling. "Sir, the civilian colonies, they are asking for evacuation orders. Panic is spreading. Our fleets, they can't hold them." Zarthal shook his head. "We cannot evacuate everything. Focus on defending the war factories. Keep the civilians alive if you can, but we must hold the line." "Sir," the officer whispered, his voice almost breaking, "how do we fight something that cannot be killed?" Zarthal's eyes narrowed. He had no answer. Not yet. The humans were not like any enemy he had faced. His entire life had been built on war, tactics, and strength. But now, all of that felt useless. Suddenly, sensors beeped frantically. The humans were moving. Not fast, not chaotic, but precise. Every ship aligned perfectly, like they were parts of one massive organism. Zarthal's stomach tightened. The humans did not attack immediately. They didn't send messages, warnings, or signals. They didn't need to. Every alien commander in the sector knew the truth without hearing a word. The humans would decide who lived and who died. One of Zarthal's lieutenants pointed at the screen. "Commander, they are scanning us. Their energy patterns. It is not just a weapon scan. It is reading our systems. Our thoughts, our formations. Everything." Zarthal felt a chill run through his spine. Reading their systems. Reading their thoughts? How could a species do that? He had seen advanced telepaths, psychic networks, even hive minds, but nothing as precise as this. The humans seemed to anticipate every move, every reaction. Every defense he prepared was already countered before it was executed. He took a deep breath. Prepare for a countermeasure. If they are reading us, we must act unpredictably. His officers hesitated. Fear had frozen them, but Zarthal's words gave them a spark of courage. They began to plot maneuvers, altering formations, firing decoy signals, deploying false energy signatures. But still, the humans did not rush. They moved like predators stalking prey. Calm. Patient. Waiting. Another officer whispered, almost to herself. Sir, their weapons, they are not firing randomly. Each strike is precise. It is like they have calculated every possible outcome. Zarthal nodded grimly. He had already seen the result. A single human weapon beam had wiped out entire cruisers without leaving debris. No explosion. No fire. No life. Only nothing. The humans destroyed not with chaos, but with perfect order. Sir, another officer said, our scouts report that entire fleets have gone missing in nearby sectors. Communications gone. Sensors gone. Nothing left. This is happening everywhere humans are moving. Zarthal's claws tightened on the railing. They are not just attacking fleets. They are removing them from existence. Every species that stands in their path disappears. And yet, they are not even in a hurry. They are choosing their targets. He looked at the monitors again. The humans were gliding slowly, methodically, like a storm that had already decided when to strike. There was no panic, no chaos, no mistake. Just death waiting silently in the void. Commander, the youngest officer said, voice shaking, why do they leave some areas untouched? Some colonies, some civilians, they are not harming them. Zarthal's eyes narrowed. They are not monsters. They are hunters. But not mindless ones. They choose when to kill and when to spare. That is what makes them terrifying. They are deliberate, controlled, perfect. He leaned over the console. We have fought for centuries. We have faced countless enemies. But this is not a battle of strength. This is a battle of will. And I fear, humans are stronger than any will in this galaxy. The bridge was silent. Every officer understood the truth. Not everyone would survive this day. Not everyone would survive the humans. Yet, Zarthal could not retreat. If he abandoned the war factories, the humans might sweep through the entire sector. If he fought, he faced extinction. The first distant beam of blue energy appeared on the horizon, cutting through empty space. Zarthal's heart froze. The humans were beginning again. Calm. Precise. Deadly. He whispered to himself. We are not ready, but it is too late. They have chosen to fight. And in that moment, the bridge of Zarthal's flagship realized the truth every alien species had known for centuries. Humans did not just fight to win. Humans fought to end the war before it even began. And no one, not even the greatest commanders of the galaxy, could stand in their way. The first warning came as a small flicker on the outer sensors. Zarthal watched, eyes narrowed, as the distant stars seemed to twist unnaturally. The human fleet moved again. Not quickly, not erratically, but with calm, terrifying precision. Each ship adjusted its position as if it could feel the enemy before seeing it. Commander, one officer said, voice barely above a whisper. They are preparing weapons. I can sense the energy. It is different from anything we have encountered. Zarthal's claws dug into the railing. He had faced supernovas, plasma storms, and planetary defenses that could destroy entire fleets. But nothing in his 60 years of war could compare to this moment. His mind raced, calculating defenses, formations, escape routes, but he already knew it was useless. The humans did not react to threats. They were not threatened. They were inevitable. The first beam fired. It came without warning, cutting through the void with a quiet, blinding light. Zarthol watched as a nearby alien cruiser, a massive vessel, bristling with weapons, was instantly erased. No explosion. No fragments. Not even a faint echo of energy remained. Only empty space. Impossible, one officer cried. They just vanished. Zarthol felt a cold chill. This was not random destruction. It was precise. Deliberate. A single beam had removed an entire ship as if it had never existed. The humans were not just weapons users, they were executioners, but they chose exactly when and how to strike. Another beam fired, hitting 2 more cruisers. They disappeared in an instant. Officers scrambled to respond, firing back with every weapon they had. But the human shield seemed to bend the alien energy, absorbing it, dispersing it, or simply ignoring it. Shots that should have destroyed them bounced harmlessly off invisible barriers. Zarthol realized the humans were untouchable, not because they had more weapons, but because their control over those weapons was beyond comprehension. The human ships did not rush. They moved slowly, deliberately, like a predator circling its prey. Zarthol's fleet tried to regroup, forming defensive lines and evasive patterns, but the humans anticipated every move. Every maneuver was countered before it could happen. The alien fleet's confidence crumbled. Panic spread silently, infecting even the most experienced officers. "Sir," a lieutenant gasped, "their formation, it's like they are connected. They move as one mind. Every ship, every gun, every energy source, coordinated perfectly. No mistakes." Zarthol clenched his jaw. He had heard the legends of humans working as one entity. Now, he understood. It was not just coordination. It was intelligence. It was strategy beyond individual limits. The humans thought as one. They predicted the enemy. They reacted before the enemy even decided what to do. He glanced at the sensors. Another beam streaked across space, hitting a distant warship. Zarthol expected an explosion, fire, debris, but there was nothing. No fragments floated. No alarm. Only absence. The crew stared in disbelief. The humans did not destroy ships. They erased them. Entire fleets could vanish without a trace. "Commander," the youngest officer whispered, eyes wide. "They are calculating everything. Our shields, our weapons, our positions. Everything. And still, they do not fire all at once. They choose targets. They decide who dies first." Zarthol felt a weight in his chest. He had fought for empires, planets, and centuries. He had faced countless species, each claiming to be the ultimate warriors. But this was different. Humans were not just warriors. They were predators, calculators, masters of strategy and destruction combined. They fought not to survive, they fought to dominate, and they did so with terrifying calm. Another beam cut through space. This time, it hit the flagship of the neighboring sector. Zarthol felt the hum of power as the energy hit. He expected screams, alarms, chaos, but the ship vanished. Only an empty void remained. The humans were close now, their ships advancing silently, methodically. Each step forward was like a heartbeat, measured, deliberate, inescapable. The bridge was deathly silent. No one dared breathe. Officers stared at the sensors, unable to process what they saw. Thousands of ships, perfectly aligned, moving as one, erasing enemies without hesitation. Humans did not shout battle cries. They did not charge recklessly. They did not panic. They simply acted, and destruction followed. Zarthol spoke quietly, almost to himself, but the weight of his words echoed across the bridge. "This is not war. This is extinction." Another officer turned to him, trembling. "Commander, what do we do? How can we fight something that cannot be stopped?" Zarthal's eyes never left the sensors. "We survive," he said, his voice low and firm. "We survive long enough to learn. And we pray that learning is enough." The human fleet moved closer, its massive formation filling the sensor array. Zarthal realized the terrifying truth. Humans did not just enter war zones. They dominated them. And when they left, nothing remained, not fleets, not weapons, not enemies. Only whispers of a legend that had become reality. A final beam streaked across the void, striking the lead cruiser of Zarthal's fleet. The light was bright enough to blind, calm enough to terrify, and deadly enough to erase. Zarthal watched, frozen, as his warship vanished. And in that instant, he understood, humans fought not to win battles, but to ensure that no one could even imagine resisting them. The bridge of Zarthal's flagship was filled with silence. Fear. Awe. Realization. Humans were here. Humans were deadly. And the galaxy would never be the same. Zarthal could not believe his eyes. His entire fleet had been shattered in minutes, ships disappearing as if they had never existed. He had fought empires, rogue fleets, even ancient weapons of mass destruction, but nothing like this. Humans were different. Humans were beyond comprehension. He paced the bridge, claws tapping nervously against the railing. The humans had slowed their advance now, hovering silently at the edge of the war zone. No attacks. No warnings. Just observation. It was as if they were waiting for something. Or someone. "Commander," an officer whispered, pointing at the monitors. "We are detecting unusual energy patterns. They're ships. They are linked. All of them. Every vessel, every weapon, every shield. It is connected." Zarthal froze. Connected? How? "It's not normal, sir," the officer continued, voice trembling. "It's like they share a single consciousness. One mind controlling thousands of ships at once. Our scans cannot penetrate it. It is seamless. Perfect." A shiver ran down Zarthal's spine. Humans had always been underestimated. Small, fragile, almost primitive compared to alien empires. Yet the legends had warned of something more. He had dismissed them as stories. Now he realized the stories were only the beginning. He leaned over the console, examining the energy readings. Every weapon charge, every movement, every beam fired by the humans seemed pre-planned. The humans didn't just react, they anticipated. Every possible counter, every evasive maneuver his officers could think of, had already been accounted for. "They fight as one," Zarthal muttered. "They are not just soldiers, they are a network. A single mind." One officer, the youngest on the bridge, dared to ask, "Sir, are you saying humans are telepathic?" Zarthal's eyes narrowed. "Not telepathic in the way we know. This is something more. They don't just communicate. They calculate. They strategize as one. They are every ship, every weapon, every mind, all at once." He turned to the rest of the bridge crew. "We have faced superior weapons before. We have faced numbers before. But never, never a force that cannot be divided. A force that thinks as one." Outside, the human ships glided silently. The blue glow of their weapons pulsed faintly, but no beam fired. Yet the entire fleet felt like a living presence. Zarthal could almost hear it in his mind. The calm certainty of predators confident in their hunt. Another officer interrupted, voice shaky. "Commander, they are not attacking now, but our fleet, it's falling apart. Systems are failing. Ships are retreating on their own. It is as if they know exactly what to disable." Zarthal clenched his claws. The humans did not need to destroy everything immediately. They only needed to show dominance, and the galaxy obeyed. The fear they created was enough. They did not just fight battles, they reshaped the minds of those who faced them. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. Prepare a full scan again. Focus on their shields, their power sources, everything. We need to understand them. Minutes passed. Nothing. The scans returned strange, incomprehensible readings. The humans seemed to absorb, redirect, or completely nullify every attempt at understanding them. Zarthol realized the terrifying truth: humans were beyond conventional science, beyond conventional strategy. They were evolution itself. A species that had mastered the art of war not just physically, but mentally, strategically, and spiritually. An officer spoke softly, almost in awe. "Commander, I think that's why no one ever survives. It's not just their weapons. It's their mind. They are everywhere at once. They see every move before it is made." Zarthol's gaze hardened. He had always believed in the power of discipline, of training, of fleets and weapons. But humans had taken all of that and transcended it. They did not fight like other species. They fought as an idea, as inevitability. He stared at the human formation, calm and precise. Slowly, a cold realization spread through him: the humans did not need to attack to win. Their presence alone was a weapon. Every move they made, every pause, every silent hover was a statement: we are in control. Resistance is pointless. Another beam of blue energy appeared on the sensors. This time it was small, almost delicate, but Zarthol felt its weight. He realized it was a warning. The humans were telling him, without words, what would happen if he disobeyed. They did not need to speak. They did not need to threaten. They simply acted, and the galaxy responded. "Sir," the youngest officer whispered again, "how do we fight a species like this?" Zarthol looked out at the void, the thousands of human ships glowing faintly against the dark. He did not have an answer. Not yet. But one thing was clear: this was not the end of their story. The humans were not monsters. They were warriors. They were predators. And they were only beginning to show their strength. He turned to his crew, voice low but firm. "We survive. We learn. And we prepare. Humans are not just a threat, they are a lesson. And if we live through this, we will never forget it." Outside, the human fleet moved as one, calm, patient, unstoppable. Zarthol watched, knowing that the galaxy had changed forever. No one would forget the day humans revealed their true power. And he knew deep inside, with a chill he could not shake, the war had only just begun. Zarthol's fleet was in chaos. Ships that had once formed strong battle lines now drifted apart, systems failing one by one. Communications were jammed, power grids flickered, and morale had collapsed. Every officer on the bridge knew the truth: the humans were beyond conventional attack. They could not be destroyed by force. They could not be outmaneuvered. "Commander," an officer said, voice tight with fear, "our war factories, if we cannot protect them, the humans will sweep through every sector. They will destroy everything." Zarthol gritted his teeth. He had trained for this. He had fought countless battles, faced fleets larger than this, and survived. But nothing prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare anyone. Humans did not fight like other species. They fought as one mind, with a control that made every strategy useless. He turned to the bridge crew. "We launch the plasma storm," he ordered. "Target the human fleet directly. Full power. Every plasma cannon. Every energy matrix. We may not destroy them, but we can slow them down." The officers scrambled. Plasma cannons powered up. Shields were reinforced. The storm was ready, a massive surge of energy that could level a planet if unleashed at full power. Zarthol knew it was his last chance. The humans did not respond immediately. Their ships remained calm, gliding slowly, perfectly aligned. Zarthol's fingers tapped nervously on the railing. "Fire!" he shouted. A massive wave of plasma energy shot forward, arcing across the void. Zarthol expected explosions, debris, panic, but none came. The human fleet absorbed it. Their shields shimmered briefly, a pale blue glow against the fiery assault, and then, nothing. The plasma passed through harmlessly, dissipating into empty space. The bridge was frozen in silence. Officers stared at the monitors, disbelief written on their faces. It didn't hit them, one muttered. Not even a scratch. Zarthol felt cold dread. The humans were untouchable. Every weapon they fired, every tactic they tried, was useless. He had thought that overwhelming force, raw power, could at least slow them down. He had been wrong. Humans were beyond slowing. Humans were perfection. Another beam fired from a human ship. It was small, almost delicate, but it struck the nearest alien cruiser with surgical precision. The vessel vanished instantly, leaving nothing behind. Not fire. Not fragments. Nothing. Just emptiness. "They are controlling the storm," whispered the youngest officer. "Every plasma shot, they are redirecting it, absorbing it, using it against us." Zarthol growled. Impossible. But deep down, he knew it was not impossible. The humans did not follow normal rules. They did not fight like anyone else. They were not just advanced, they were absolute. Ships tried to retreat, but human weapons blocked their path. Gravity pulses, energy tethers, and invisible fields immobilized them. One by one, cruisers that had survived the first attacks were neutralized. Zarthol's flagship shuddered as systems flickered, showing signs of internal sabotage. The humans had disabled engines, shields, and weapons without entering a single ship. He shouted, "We fight. Don't let them control us." The crew tried. Beams fired, shields rose, engines roared, but it was useless. The humans were always ahead, always predicting, always countering. The plasma storm, once a symbol of hope, had become a display of failure. Zarthol realized with bitter clarity, humans did not just win battles, they erased the possibility of losing. Another alien flagship was struck. Zarthol watched as it vanished, and he felt something he had never felt before. True fear. Not for himself, not for his reputation, but for his entire species. If humans decided to strike fully, there would be nothing left. No fleets. No factories. No worlds. Just silence. "Sir." The officer's voice trembled. They are everywhere at once. Not in one place. Not in one ship. But all of them. Controlling everything." Zarthol nodded slowly. "Yes. They are not just ships. They are a force. A mind. A storm. And we are nothing but leaves before it." The human fleet moved closer, still calm, still deliberate. Zarthol's fingers tightened on the railing. "We have one chance," he said quietly. "One chance to survive, and learn. But we must accept that brute force will not win. We face a species that has mastered war in a way the galaxy has never seen." Outside, the humans continued their silent advance. They destroyed what needed to be destroyed, disabled what needed to be stopped, and left untouched what they chose to spare. Every move was deliberate. Every pause was terrifying. And Zarthol understood at last, humans did not need to kill indiscriminately. Their presence alone reshaped the battlefield. He looked at the empty monitors where fleets had once been. Entire sectors had vanished under human control. And the human fleet was not finished. "Not yet," Zarthol whispered, almost to himself. "We underestimated them, and now the lesson begins. The humans are unstoppable." The human fleet stopped. Slowly. Perfectly. As if they had decided the battle was over, yet without moving a single step too far. Zarthol watched from the bridge, heart pounding. His entire fleet had been shattered, systems failing, morale broken. The humans had proven something terrifying. They did not just destroy, they controlled everything. "Commander," whispered one officer, pointing to the main screen. They are sending a message." Zarthol leaned forward. A small projection appeared in the void. A calm, clear voice spoke, not harsh, not threatening, but carrying the weight of power that could not be ignored. "Surrender and live. Resist and vanish." The simplicity of the words was worse than 1,000 attacks. No explosions. No beams. Just certainty. Humans did not need to shout. They did not need to threaten. Their presence, their precision, their control spoke louder than any weapon. Zarthal's claws clenched the railing. He had fought countless enemies. He had faced threats that could destroy planets. But this was unlike anything. Humans were not monsters. They were something far worse. Perfect predators with the patience to wait and the wisdom to strike only when necessary. "Sir," a young officer whispered, "do we surrender?" Zarthal shook his head. "No. Not yet. We learn first. Then we decide. Humans will respect skill, not fear alone." The projection vanished, replaced by an empty void. Then, without warning, a human ship materialized inside Zarthal's defensive perimeter. It moved like a ghost, silent, perfect. No alarms. No warnings. Only presence. "Sir, they are inside our formation," another officer stammered. "Impossible." "How?" Zarthal knew the answer without asking. Humans did not obey the same rules of space or combat. They did not rely on engines, shields, or weapons alone. They controlled the battlefield itself. And now, they were inside. The ship hovered a few kilometers from the flagship. A small pod detached, moving slowly toward Zarthal's vessel. Zarthal realized the truth. The humans could have destroyed them all instantly. Every ship. Every crew. Every sector. But they did not. They were deliberate. They were precise. They chose restraint. Why not attack?" whispered an officer. Zarthal shook his head. "To teach us control. To show strength without chaos. Humans fight differently. They do not kill when unnecessary. They strike when necessary. They are disciplined beyond reason." The pod docked silently. A hatch opened. Zarthal watched in disbelief as figures emerged. Humans. Not monstrous. Not alien. Just human. Ordinary in appearance, yet extraordinary in aura. Confidence, calm, and control radiated from them. No panic. No fear. No hesitation. Only awareness. A single human spoke, voice even and calm. "Commander Zarthal, your fleet resists. But resistance is futile. We do not wish to destroy life unnecessarily. Stand down. Learn. Survive." Zarthal swallowed. His pride burned. He had never felt so powerless before. You could have destroyed everything," he said, voice low. The human smiled faintly. "Yes. But power is not measured by destruction alone. It is measured by control. By choice. By precision. By knowing when to end a war without ending life unnecessarily." Zarthal looked at his shattered fleet. The humans had disabled systems, neutralized engines, and controlled the battlefield with perfect efficiency. But no one had been killed unnecessarily. The aliens were alive, shaken, but alive. The young officer whispered, "Sir, they could have erased us all." Zarthal nodded slowly. "Yes. And yet, they chose not to. That is why humans are beyond any legend. They are not monsters. They are masters." The humans retreated, leaving the fleet intact, systems disabled but life preserved. Zarthal watched as their ships moved with perfect order, back into the void, calm and deliberate. The lesson had been taught without a single unnecessary death. He turned to his crew. "Remember this day. Remember humans. They are not just a threat. They are a force of nature. And if we survive, we will never forget what we have learned." Outside, the human fleet disappeared into the void, leaving only silence, awe, and fear behind. Zarthal understood now what the galaxy would soon learn. Humans did not just conquer with weapons. They conquered with mind, control, and precision. And no one could survive facing them unprepared. The galaxy had changed forever. The human fleet drifted silently through the void, calm and deliberate. Zarthol watched from his flagship, his eyes narrowed, mind racing. His fleet had survived, but only barely. Every ship was damaged, every system strained, every officer shaken. The humans had shown their power, their precision, and their control. They had not killed unnecessarily, yet the message was clear: resistance was meaningless. "Sir," the youngest officer whispered, voice trembling. They could have destroyed everything. But they didn't. Why? Zarthol's claws tightened around the railing. He stared into the emptiness where the humans had been, searching for an answer he barely dared to speak aloud. Because they are not monsters. They are protectors. Warriors. They fight with purpose, not chaos. They destroy only when they must, and they spare when they can. That is why they are unstoppable. Outside, the human ships moved like shadows across the stars. They bypassed civilian colonies, leaving them untouched. War factories were disabled, but populations remained safe. Zarthol realized the brilliance of it all. Humans had reshaped the battlefield, eliminated threats, yet spared life whenever possible. Their power was absolute, but so was their control. One human ship detached from the formation, moving toward Zarthol's flagship. A calm voice echoed through the bridge. "Commander Zarthol, the war ends here. Resistance brings nothing. Life preserved. Destruction avoided. Learn from this. Adapt. Survive." Zarthol felt the weight of those words. Humans did not brag, did not threaten. Their presence alone delivered the lesson. Their strength was not measured in death or chaos, it was measured in control, precision, and wisdom. The human ship paused, then slowly returned to the fleet. Zarthol watched as thousands of ships glided into the darkness, silent and perfect. No beam fired. No fleet destroyed. No one harmed unnecessarily. And yet, the galaxy had been forever changed. He turned to his officers, voice low but firm. "Do you understand now? Humans are not just a species. They are a force. They fight with mind, with discipline, and with purpose. They are masters of war in a way we cannot yet comprehend. Remember this lesson." A lieutenant whispered, awed, "Sir, they didn't kill anyone unnecessarily. But, we all feel like we were defeated already." Zarthol nodded. "Yes, that is the point. They win not by slaughtering indiscriminately, but by showing us the limits of our power. That is what makes them legendary. That is what makes humans different." Across the galaxy, news would spread. The humans had entered the war zone, destroyed enemy fleets without leaving a trace, and yet preserved life where they could. Every species would remember the day humans arrived. They would fear them, yes, but they would also respect them. Humans were not conquerors in the ordinary sense. They were arbiters of power, discipline, and justice in their own terrifying way. Zarthol took a deep breath. He looked at the damage in his own fleet, the broken systems, the scattered officers. Yet, he also saw hope. Humans had not killed indiscriminately. They had taught a lesson. The galaxy had learned restraint, strategy, and the value of controlled power. "Sir," another officer said quietly, "what now? What do we do?" Zarthol straightened, his voice calm, strong. "We survive. We rebuild. We learn. And we prepare for the day humans return. They will not always strike directly. But we will never forget what we have seen. Their lesson is clear. Strength without control is nothing. Only mastery of mind, purpose, and action can stand against them." Outside, the humans vanished into hyperspace, leaving the galaxy changed forever. Planets would whisper their name. Fleets would tremble at their legend. And yet, life continued. Civilians returned to their homes. War factories repaired. Systems rebooted. But the memory remained. Humans had arrived. Humans had fought. Humans had dominated without chaos. And in doing so, they had become myths made real. Zarthal gazed at the stars. He realized the truth: humans were not monsters. They were protectors with the power of monsters. They fought not just for victory, but for precision, for order, and for survival of the galaxy itself. The galaxy would remember that day. The day humans entered the Warzone, destroyed enemies without a trace, and left life untouched where they chose. A lesson had been taught, a legend had been made, and humanity's place among the stars had been sealed forever. "Prepare a report," Zarthal said quietly to his officers. "The humans are unstoppable. But we have learned. That is the key. We live, we learn, and we adapt. One day, perhaps, we may face them again, better prepared. But today, we remember. Humans are not to be feared as monsters. They are to be respected as masters." And as the human fleet disappeared into the darkness, the galaxy understood the undeniable truth: humans were not just a species. They were a force of nature. A legend. And nothing, no empire, no weapon, no army, could ever erase their place among the stars. The galaxy had changed. Forever.